Yes, that was the Greater St. Stephen Full Gospel Mass Choir, along with Bishop Paulus Morton, with the single entitled God Gave Me Another Chance. Well, good morning, Vancouver and Portland. This is Angela, almost 23 minutes to 12. And before we get back into playing some more gospel music, you can hear a very special conversation as we continue our conversation regarding the I-5 Rose Quarter Highway construction. So you want to tune in. You can be hearing from Turon White, Larry Anderson, Laura Ramirez, Crystal Stone, and Jeff Moreland Jr. as they continue the conversation regarding this big project coming up. So keep it tuned here to 1480 KBMS.
When I was younger, trying to figure out a career path to get into, I lived in a house that people sold heroin all day, every day. It wasn't the kind of life that I wanted to live in. I want to enjoy my life. I want to see my kids grow. I want to see their kids grow. You won't see that much in that kind of lifestyle. Construction is awesome, man. It really helped me out to not go down those kinds of paths. I started when I was 18 on a paving crew for about 3 years until I was able to move into the foreman role. It was a challenge being that young, leading older men, looking at you like, this young guy. But you really just can't let that kind of thing deter you from being the best you can be, you know? And it's really just given me a stable way of life. Like if college is not the option, construction is the option for you. You don't have to go try to play football. You don't have to try to go, you don't have to try to make it out that way. You don't have to be a gang member. You don't have to stress about looking over your shoulder about somebody, am I about to get shot? This is a great option to be happy and live your life. You can have all the toys you want. If you're starting as an apprentice, $20 an hour. Regular journeyman is $32 an hour. Foreman, running a crew, around $45 an hour. You don't have to struggle and live paycheck to paycheck doing this. You can have a good life doing this. Yeah, this has shown me you can do things and not have to sell your soul. I feel like Raimore being led by people of color, it gives you a perception of reality that I can do this, succeed, even though there's, obstacles in the way. Your self-esteem, I think it's a big part of it. Don't be scared to try, man. Don't be scared to bet on you. I mean, it'd take you a long way.
I was in the police department for about 29 years. I spent 25 of those years policing in this community. I actually wanted to work in my own neighborhood because that's the community that I was concerned about. In the culture of police, my people were continually disrespected. But I learned to love my job. I had to learn how to become a public servant because they taught me how to be a cop, but nothing about serving the public. I don't even recognize this place. I feel like a stranger walking around in here. When I grew up, there were a lot of black businesses in this community. There were barbershops, mechanic shops, tax offices, there were restaurants, Geneva's, Cleo's, Albina Real Estate, which sponsor our baseball league. They're now gone and they've been replaced by white businesses. It has totally been gentrified. My black community has been conditioned to participate in social justice, always towards the poor. It's always dependent on white benevolence, dependent on low-income subsidies. All these projects, they get black people to support that because it sounds good, it makes them feel good, and it's an emotional response. But it's not sustainable. Being dependent on a system that was designed by the very people that oppress you, and then be dependent on them to show you mercy. Well, the result of that is that we no longer exist in our own community. Look around, we ain't here no more. The sons and daughters of slaves that own 1/2 of 1% of anything of value in this nation. These social service programs and stuff, they don't see the guy who has a job, how to capitalize and further expand his ability to be an influencer in his own community. We don't need any more social justice programs. We don't need any more inappropriate missionary white benevolence. What we need is capitalization to support black business. This is what builds a community. If you want social change, have economic empowerment. When you conduct business, you can create jobs for your own people. What Raimore is doing, Raimore Construction Company, we have a general contractor who is now sitting at the table to do infrastructure work. That's the capitalization that you need because we've been so fixated on responding to our oppressors. We trample over each other trying to get crumbs. There's an awakening to the significance of self-sufficiency economically. How are we going to decide to do business together? Are we going to take the model that's been given to us by corporate America, which is part of the oppressor system, or are we going to wake up to what the Father has revealed to us in the kingdom principle? the understanding that we care for one another. And we do that from an economic perspective. How are we going to negotiate doing business with one another and for one another and about one another and not feel guilty when we receive benefit from that? We have been taught to betray one another. We've sold each other out to sit at the table of our oppressors because we don't trust each other. We're accusing one another and we're pointing out who's betrayed us, but there's never been a sense of healing based on forgiveness. That we can come and say, look, we've all participated in our own betrayal. We need to forgive one another, restore one another. How are we going to serve one another? It can't just be on a personal level, or it just can't be social reform. It has to be the way we conduct business.
We're starting that this week with you.
Webb is a superintendent and I am his field engineer. Large projects like this have a tendency to become even larger just once you break ground. More issues and more things that need to be resolved. Finding solutions to all the conflicts that you find out in the field, puzzles that you're just constantly trying to fix, and it is very stressful at times, but when you resolve certain conflicts, it just feels so good. So it's a good high. My mom is an immigrant and she moved from El Salvador during the Civil War. By cleaning houses, she was able to pay off her house and send me to college. People see her working in her yard and say, "Do you clean this house?" And she's like, "No, I live here, but I'll clean yours if you want me to." She's so lighthearted and never takes offense to anything. She's very kind and hardworking. She made the sacrifice of leaving her country and she had to make it count. Now that I'm in this career, even on the hardest days, I can't give up because I have to make it count, or her sacrifice hasn't been for anything. Everybody wants to hire people of color because it's just the climate that we're in right now, which is nice, but are they actually going to help me grow? It just didn't play out. Teaching at a Spanish immersion school, I was able to become the director, but that's as high as I could go. So I wanted a little bit more of a challenge and just took a leap of faith and asked Raimore to take a chance on me, and they were willing. To go into graduate school is almost impossible. I can't afford it. The mentorship here, it levels out the playing field. Just putting in time that is not even during work hours to make sure that I'm successful. I now too have that instilled in me that whoever comes next, I'm going to mentor them because I just want us to thrive.
I've always liked to resolve things and make sure that everything is balanced, and I had a knack for numbers. I've worked as a subcontractor for a lot of the large construction companies here. I got an opportunity to work for a larger construction company. I thought, oh, okay, this is just another opportunity for me to grow my skills. Wasn't necessarily the case. They were trying to fulfill some type of diversity quota. That's the way that I felt. And with the skills that I brought to them, they made me their receptionist. They're like, "You're gonna be the face of this company." And you're like, what? What do you mean by that? It's are you hiring me because of my skill set? Or are you hiring me because of what I look like? I found Raimore almost 3 years ago. I was offered the position as the accounts payable specialist. I was just blown away. Everybody from the top to the bottom has been warm and very willing to teach me things, to push me to grow and to experience everything from the back office to the field. The one thing that I love about working for them, I'm sorry, if one of us fails, we all fail, and if one of us falls, we're a village and we pick that person up. And we walk with them and we make sure that they have everything that they need and the skills so that they can be successful. My paycheck is the bonus. And I come here because of the people. We're a body, we're a whole. What's embodied in the culture of this company, I feel very fortunate and blessed to work here. Yeah. For my kids to see, a person of color to be this successful, my son is just in awe. My daughter's like, "I can't believe that you work for a Black-owned construction company and you guys are doing all of these great things, Mom." I can drive down the street and say, "Hey, we worked at the convention center," or "Hey, we're doing this work on Division." I'm proud of that. Yeah. Woo.
The construction industry is very unique. It's one of the few industries you can go into where you don't have to have a college diploma to make a living wage pay scale. And one of the things that has actually been the most gratifying is being able to help others get into the industry and give them the exposure that's much needed, because it has traditionally been very exclusive. This industry has intentionally locked the Black community out. A lot of people have not been exposed to it. There's no representation for the most part. People don't see themselves in the management positions. Why would they think they could do it, right? I see a discrepancy and I see a need that needs to be filled, and it has just drawn me to it. You have to have people that are willing to trailblaze and pull other people forward. You can make upwards of, just starting out, $50K, which for 18-year-old is great money, right? Full benefit package, and you get retirement. In my personal opinion, unless you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or something where you do need that higher education, I actually recommend it over going to college, especially if you don't know what you want to do in college, because paying that off for the next 10 years, you're not able to really build wealth creation. Most contractors, big contractors you see, actually were in the trades first. Living wage jobs, we have a little bit of excess money to be able to reinvest, start building a team around them. Eventually they pass it down to their children, right, where they build in generational wealth. Is a very good way for equity to be built in our community. Traditionally, a lot of these big projects, there is nobody from the community that sits at the table. To me, what makes the Rose Quarter project different is the intentional work that was put in earlier. A lot of community members were very intentional about making sure that this project was not mishandled, especially given the history of projects that came through our community and displaced us. Because that was done, we're actually at the table in the rooms that matter, where the decisions are being made, right? This is a project that's coming through our community. We need to benefit from it. We opened the door, and now we need to walk through it. There was a lot that went into getting that door open in the first place.
Yes, that's part one. And this is Angela. It's 10 minutes to 12, yes. Conversation part two will be coming up after you hear from Miss Sunny Hawkins with her single entitled More of You. So keep it tuned here to 1480 KBMS. Yes, good morning, Vancouver and Portland. This is Angela. It's about 5 minutes to 12. And you just heard from Sunny Hawkins with her single entitled More of You. And coming up, you're going to hear part two of the conversation regarding I-5 Rose Quarter Highway construction. You'll be hearing from Coach and Pastor Eric Knox, along with DeAngelo Moaning. So you want to keep it tuned here to 1480 KBMS.
HOLLO is a culturally specific mentoring organization that focuses on opportunity, representation, access, making sure that these kids have ample space to grow, to dream, to imagine. We believe in the power and potential of Black and brown youth. Being an ex-basketball player, realizing what the game did for me. Basketball is just sort of a metaphor for life. Everything we do is much bigger than it, but it gives these kids tools like teamwork, perseverance, sacrifice. To see them take a step on the basketball court and ultimately in life is beautiful. Me and Jeff Moreland from Raimore go back 30 plus years. We've always been in the trenches together. We believe that, you know, real transformation happens when you get in the trenches and walk alongside folks. So mentoring, you know, me being sort of this community activist in the streets, Jeff doing that while simultaneously developing his own business acumen. And then us both coming to this realization that if we're really gonna empower Black and brown communities, we gotta help them be self-determined. And the easiest way is through economic empowerment. So Raimore Construction has been that, you know, like I used to tease him back in the day. I used to call him the hardest working broke man in America. Over the last 30 years, to see this thing become one of the largest Black-owned construction companies in Oregon is mind-boggling and beautiful. An economic engine in our own community. I've been in this so long that a lot of the kids that I mentor, I know their parents because I mentored their parents when they were kids. I can push these parents to Raimore for employment opportunities, not to just do a job, but to dream and develop a career. Right? He's never been driven by profit, he's been driven by the service of people. He's always put people over profit. And that's because he gets the larger picture of what we're trying to do here in the community. What our community actually needs is self-sufficiency. I'm not saying the support and opportunities and open doors that come from other communities aren't important, but what's most important is for our kids to see people that look like them, that own banks and businesses and insurance companies and real estate offices and construction companies. Those kind of companies in the communities that I serve are vital.
My father worked on the Rose Quarter project when they were actually building it. And growing up, I didn't really see the importance of construction, the ecosystem that construction creates, the trucking companies, the laborers. I see the electricians. We're laying the pavement, we're laying the foundation for commerce, we're laying the foundation for communities. My grandfather worked on the railroad that goes through the albino community, and once that was done, he was then displaced. And so we see construction companies historically has taken black labor, removed them from the decisions made in that process. The I-5 corridor goes straight to the heart of the albino community, and it displaced many black people, black families, black businesses. We're on the precipice of a renaissance now where we're talking about, a $600 to $700 million project that typically goes to large white-owned companies. They come into our communities and they do all this work, and we never see any sort of profit from it. Look at the history of the infrastructure of our country. This country was built on the backs of slave labor. A lot of black people who were masters of the trade now no longer have access to those skills because they've been locked out of the industry. So to work for a black-owned construction company and see black people taking back those skills, now we're in a position where, as a black business community, we can kind of take those trades back, support our communities with the work that we put in, and in that, build an economy that's centered around us, for us. That's the importance of construction to me now.
1480 KBMS, Vancouver, Portland.